on an initial permanency hearing. In Kylon's case, we have Ms. Gutierrez for the department, Mr. Ingram representing Kylon, Ms. Grant is with us representing the mother, Ms. Garcia, who is with us. Ms. Mullinax is with us representing an unknown father. In Kean's case, again, Ms. Gutierrez for the department, Mr. Ingram for the child, Mr. Barfield represents the father, Mr. Gomez, who is not with us. Ms. Grant again represents Ms. Garcia, who is with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Officer Putnam as its witness. Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Putnam, are you a certified police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been a certified police officer for?
About 2 years now.
And how long have you been working with APD?
3 years.
Now, were you working for Amarillo Police Department on the night of July 27th, 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you tell us about what time you responded to a call involving Candace Garcia?
I don't really recall what time it was.
Okay. Was it in the early morning of July 27th?
Yes.
Would you consider that kind of the 26th going into the 27th in the early hours of the 27th?
Objection. He's testified that he did not recall.
Sustain.
Okay. Now, did you respond to a call that night involving Candace Garcia and Mark Garcia?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the nature of the call?
I believe it was it was some type of domestic violence call. Wife or ex-wife coming to the house, and Mark wanted her trespassed, I believe.
Okay. And when you arrived, did you make contact with Candace?
I did at first, yes, and her hand was bleeding.
Okay. And was there anything you noticed about her demeanor?
She's very distraught, upset, crying. I believe she was intoxicated too.
Objection. Cause for speculation.
Overrule.
Now, can you tell me what signs of intoxication you saw, if any?
Objection. Calls for expert opinion, and it has not laid foundation.
Overrule.
If you'll answer, please, officer.
So, it was the strong odor of alcohol. Her eyes were very glassy and watery, and her speech was very slurred.
And at that first encounter, did Candace claim what had happened in regard to a physical assault on her?
No.
Okay. Now, while you were there at the home, what did you observe about the status of the home or the condition of the home?
So the window at the front door of the house, it was broken. And it appeared to have blood on it, and then blood all over the porch from where I assume she had, cut her hand on.
Objection. Speculation.
Sustain.
Now, Officer Putnam, was Mark Garcia inside the home or outside the home?
He was inside the home.
And Candace Garcia, when you spoke with her, was she inside the home or outside the home?
She was outside the home, and she went up to us when we arrived.
At any point, did you enter the home?
No.
Okay. Now, at some point, did Candace give an explanation of what had occurred?
Not to me.
Okay. Officer Putnam, have you reviewed your report?
I did it over the weekend, yes. I just remember talking to her briefly.
Okay. Do you recall who had rights to be in that home?
Objection. Hearsay if he doesn't recall her telling him.
Overrule.
Officer
So-
Putnam, you may answer.
Okay. So she did tell me that she did live in the home. I do remember that part because there's a whole he said, she said thing about who actually lived in the house. Mark did tell me that he had paperwork, but I don't remember him ever showing me current paperwork. But they both claimed to live in the house, and the other one, Mark, claimed that she didn't.
And Your Honor, I'd like to preface this question by informing the court first that Ms. Garcia no longer lives at this address, if she did at all, and I plan to ask him for the address.
Is that necessary? I don't want to have to go off YouTube just for an address, but I will if you say I need to.
Your Honor, we will stipulate from the mother's position that she no longer lives at the address in question regarding the call.
Is that good enough, Ms. Gutierrez?
Well, Your Honor, I've got a copy of the lease I'd like to get into evidence, and it's got that.
They're an effective kin placement in Pampa.
And can you give us some details on how they're doing in that placement?
The boys are doing great. They are well bonded to the freeze. Kian is going to school. He's doing well. They are taking care of all of their medical needs. Kylon stays home for school, and Mrs. Free helps him with his basics, numbers, letters, and things like that, helping him write. And so they're both doing very well.
And have the behavioral struggles that the children were experiencing at the previous placement, have those improved as well?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you prepare court reports in each of these cases filed on September 26th of 2023?
Yes.
Your Honor, we ask that the court take judicial notice of those court reports.
All right, so noted, and I have read the reports.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Shay, let's start off with the visitation for the children. How are those visits going, and who are they having visits with?
They currently have weekly 2-hour visits with mom, Candace Garcia, and the visits are going really well.
Okay. Is Candace appropriate and nurturing during those visits?
Yes, she is.
And is either of the children in therapy?
They both are.
Is that weekly or biweekly?
It's not really a set schedule. I think it's kind of going bi-weekly right now, but they're both attending.
And how is Candace progressing on her services?
She's made a lot of progress. She's doing well.
Are there any services that we need to ask the court to order today?
No, I don't believe so. She has all of the services that we needed to do. She did voluntarily do those, so we're good.
Did one of her service providers recommend a Padre program?
Yes.
Has that been completed?
Yes, she completed her OSAR and she started the Padre classes, the alcohol and drug education classes.
Okay, are those alcohol and drug education classes through Padre completed?
They are not complete, but she is working them.
Are we asking the court to go ahead and make that an order of the court as well?
Yes.
Are there any other recommended services from service providers that are not yet included in her service plan that was made in order at the status hearing?
Candace completed a psychological evaluation, and it was recommended that she complete a psychiatric evaluation to determine her need for medication.
Okay. Do you have a service provider that we are asking the court to order that through?
Yes.
And who is that?
Stonebridge.
So Stonebridge offers psychiatric evaluations for medication?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm not sure who could do the psychiatric evaluation, but I do want to say that Ms. Garcia reached out to her doctor and she has started her medication again. Just that's something she wanted to do.
If mom is going through her own doctor, do we still need to ask the court for this to be ordered?
Your Honor, can I object to the request of ordering any further services without being provided with the results of the psychosocial or any of the other information being put in the court report? I don't have anything indicating these recommendations.
Where did these recommendations come from? Was it a psychosocial?
One was a
I'm sorry. It was through her psychological with Stonebridge.
All right. So what's your objection, Ms. Grant?
I have not, the evaluation's not been filed with the court, Judge, and none of these recommendations are included within the court report. So I'm learning this for the first time just now, along with you.
Okay. Well, then I'll just take that up at a later date. If you have some objections to what Ms. Gutierrez is asking for, just file a motion, we'll rehear it, but we don't have time this morning for everybody to sit and read a psychosocial report.
Yeah. Thank you, Judge. She's willingly complying, and I would just ask that we not make an order to the court till we're here again.
Okay. All right. Ms. Gutierrez, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember my last question. I think it was on medication. Shay, would us requesting an order for Ms. Garcia to continue medication as recommended by her own doctor, would that satisfy the recommendation from the psychosocial?
Yes.
Let me see here. Has Ms. Garcia also been keeping her place of residence and her contact information up to date?
Yes, she has.
Okay. And are there any new concerns with her new residence?
My only concern would be is how close it is to Mr. Garcia's residence.
And can you explain how close without giving her address?
They're about a minute apart driving.
Okay. And Mr. Garcia was the one involved in the domestic violence incident that Officer Putnam just testified about. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he's also the gentleman involved in the incident that led to removal as well. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, as far as Kian's father, Mr. Gomez, is Mr. Gomez working services?
No, he's not.
And per the court's order, Mr. Gomez is not having any visitation with the child. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Has Mr. Gomez indicated to you whether or not he's willing to work services?
Yes. He's not willing.
And has he indicated to you whether or not he still wants any visitation?
He told me he does not want anything to do with the case.
Is there anything else that we need to make the court aware of?
I don't think so.
Okay, pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Grant.
Shay, in your court report, you indicated that Candace has been maintaining her visits, correct?
Yes.
Has she been appropriate and with the children during those visits?
Yes, she is.
Is there any objection you have today to increasing her visitation to allow a little more time?
No.
And one of the things this family regularly does together is carve pumpkins and do Halloween. Would you object to asking the court if they could carve pumpkins with their mother this year?
No.
And where would be appropriate in your opinion? Could they come to her house to do that?
If the FSW, the person that supervises the visits, if they're willing to do that, I don't see a problem with it.
Okay. And if not, those would just need to be where the FSW approves the visit, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as the new address, did Candace, or would it solve your concerns with the new address if Mark were trespassed from that address by Ms. Garcia?
Yes.
And if Ms. Garcia agreed to call the police if Mark showed up at her residence?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any problem getting her into a Padre class so that she could complete it?
No, ma'am. She's already begun those classes.
Okay. And would you mind sending me a copy of that psychosocial so that I could review and possibly file an agreement as making those an order of the court, please?
I can do that.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Thank you, Ms. Mullinax.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Grant, since the last hearing, has St. Francis, as far as you're aware, gotten any information as to whether there is another named parent or father for Kylon?
No, ma'am.
And so since the last hearing, there's been no other information regarding a potential father at all?
No, ma'am.
I pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Barfield.
Have you had any contact at all with Mr. Gomez within the past month?
No, sir.
Okay. Has he indicated, has he given you any address or telephone number or contact information?
I do have that information.
All right. And have you made contact to try to advise him as to what services he needs to work or what he needs to do to be in this case?
I have tried, but I've not been able to.
Okay. All right. Did you happen to have any conversations as to whether he'd sign a voluntary relinquishment?
Initially we did. At that time, he did not want to, but not since then.
Okay. All right. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, anyone have further questions? for
Yes,
Ms.
Your Honor.
Grant?
Shay, do you believe that it is contrary to the children's welfare to be returned to the parents today?
Yes.
Do you believe it also presents a physical danger or an emotional danger to the children as well?
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Anyone else? All right, Ms. Gutierrez, any other witnesses?
No other witnesses, Your Honor. We rest.
Thank you. Ms. Grant, witnesses?
We have no witnesses today, Your Honor. We would just request the court approve an increase in visitation for the mother, Candace Garcia, due to the extraordinary progress she has made, and that the court allow her to do the Halloween activities as approved by the FSW in her case.
All right, Ms. Mullinex, witnesses?
No, Your Honor, rest.
Mr. Barfield?
Rest, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue apartment as temporary managing conservator, continue placement as is.
Okay. All right, then in both cases, I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator. In both cases, I will continue the boys' current placements. I'll order Ms. Garcia to successfully complete the drug and alcohol program that she started through Padre. And I'll order that Ms. Garcia continue to take the medications as recommended by her private physician. I will order that her visitation, was it, Ms. Grant, was it 2 hours a week she gets now?
Yes, Judge, that's correct.
Okay, I'll increase that to 4 hours weekly. And I will order that she be allowed to have 2 hours visitation on Halloween day or eve. That depends on what the HSD can do. I'm not going to try to micromanage it. So, yes, Ms. Gutierrez.
Your Honor, there is one more issue. We sent out a proposed release of information for medical records on Ms. Garcia through her attorney, and I believe that Shay spoke with Ms. Garcia also. It has still not been signed, Your Honor, and it's October.
Okay. All right. In both cases, then I'll order that Ms. Garcia sign any and all releases presented to her by the department and/or St. Francis.
Your Honor, our objection to the release was that it spans a scope that goes way before the domestic violence incident. So we would just like to limit it to the day of the incident and after.
No, I've ordered she sign whatever releases are presented to her by the department or St. Francis.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Then in both cases, we'll set the next hearing for February 5th, 2024. That will be by Zoom, just like today's hearing. So parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two. We're here on an adversary hearing. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Ms. Kimball, the mother, is with us. And the father, Mr. Beldias, is not with us. He's not in my waiting room. I have Danielle Smith in the waiting room. All right. And Ms. Kimball, I need to inform you now that this has been removal in an adversary hearing, it's not like the motion to participate where you automatically get a lawyer. You'll have to fill out the paperwork for a lawyer because I'll have to make a finding that you're indigent and entitled to a court-appointed lawyer. So.
Yes, sir. I would like to be court appointed to Savannah Kincaid.
Okay, if you will fill out the paperwork, I have to see if you qualify. You don't just get it automatically. So
Right.
If you'll fill that out, be sure it gets to me at it. And assuming that you did qualify, then I will reappoint Ms. Kincaid to represent you.
How exactly do I do that, Your Honor?
Either from at St. Francis or from anybody at the department, or you could get it. You could contact my office if you have an email, and
I do.
Haley Morrow is my court coordinator. She can email you the paperwork. You can fill it out and email it back to her.
I can do that.
Okay. Okay. We'll go ahead today, though. And so, Ms. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I have you put in a breakout room with my client briefly? It's Danielle Smith and Jamie Blount.
All right. Looks like everyone's back. So we are ready to proceed. Ms. Gutierrez.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Danielle Smith as its witness.
Okay.
How old is Miranda?
She is 10.
And whose home does she reside in?
Are you speaking of as of today or as of the time of removal?
At the time of removal, whose home did Miranda reside in?
She was living with David Veldhuis.
And who else was in David's household?
Jean Marie Belize.
Thank you, Danielle. Now, did you receive, scratch that. When did the department receive its intake on Mr. Veldhuis?
The first intake was received on July 20th. The second one was received on July 31st.
What was the intake? What were the intake allegations in the first report?
The first report was about an incident that happened in April where Miss Belize ran Mr. Veldhuis over with her car, and Miranda was present at that time.
And what were the allegations in the second intake?
The second intake reported concerns of drug use in the home between Miss Belize and Mr. Veldhuis, that they would leave Miranda home alone to go use drugs or lock themselves in their bedroom to use drugs. There was also concerns about behaviors when they were coming down from those drugs and Mr. Veldhuis's behavior as he was taking care of Miranda.
Okay. And were you assigned to take on the investigation on July 31st of 2023?
Yes, I was.
And based on those intakes, did you reach out to Mr. Veldhuis and Miss Belize?
Yes, I did.
And what did you observe regarding Mr. Veldhuis at that time?
During my initial contact with Mr. Veldhuis, he was very confrontational with the department. He was moving about the house the entire time I was there. He would leave the room, would get upset with me, would not talk about certain things. He would deny all allegations. He told me that he knew his rights, that we had no right to talk to him. He kept asking me if I believed everything I was told by other people all the time, and how was I supposed to prove that things were not right if I would not listen to what he was saying. He was very agitated the whole time I was in the home. And at that point, I explained to both him and Miss Belize that they needed to go drug screen for me.
And how did he respond?
He told me that he was not going to go drug screen, that he had the right to not drug screen.
Okay. And additionally, did you inquire about the portion of the second intake of him using drugs with his child's friend's father?
Yes, I did. I did ask him information about who this person was, as the initial intake had come in as an unknown intake. He refused to give me that information and told me that that person would contact me if they felt like they needed to.
Okay. Now, did you call and confirm that he did not drug screen on that day?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. Now, what other concerns does the department have regarding Ms. Bellis?
At the time of our intake, Ms. Bellis was still waiting for her criminal to be taken care of. She has since pled guilty to hitting Mr. Veldhuis with her car, and she is on probation for the next 2 years for domestic violence for hitting him with her car, and has to complete classes for that, as well as work services for the department.
And is it your understanding that that incident was a domestic violence incident between Ms. Bellis and Mr. Veldhuis?
Yes, ma'am. It is under my understanding that it is.
Your Honor, at this time, we offer Petitioners Exhibit 3, the indictment against Jean Marie Bellis for the incident, and Petitioners Exhibit 4, the order of deferred adjudication with a guilty pleading. Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Danielle, did you have time during your investigation to speak with Mandy Kimball, the child's mother?
Yes, I did.
And what concerns did Mandy raise?
She had concerns about the conditions of, well, not the conditions of the home, but of the home as a whole, about how her daughter was being treated in the home, how David was not taking care of her daughter in the home and not providing for her basic needs.
And did Miss Kimball explain that a prior temporary order in a custody case allowed she and Mr. Veldhuis to ask each other to drug screen?
Yes, she did explain that to me, and also provided me with detailed information on how that was supposed to happen.
Okay. And what did she report regarding asking Mr. Veldhuis to drug screen?
She stated that she went and paid for a drug screen for Mr. Veldhuis and then reported to him that he needed to go drug screen. She stated they have 5 hours to go drug screen once they've requested it, and he did not go drug screen for her when requested.
Your Honor, at this time, the department offers Petitioners Exhibit number 1, the temporary order with that drug screening provision.
All right. Any objections? All right. Petitioners 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And then Danielle, on August 23rd, 2023, did you offer testimony in a custody case regarding David's household member, Ms. Bellis?
Yes, I did.
And that was for her children, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please explain what concerns you raised at that time?
There was concerns about the relationship between Mr. Veldhuis and Ms. Bellis. They have had multiple cases with the department due to domestic violence and alcohol and drug use. It was brought to the attention of the court at that time that there was concern about the relationship and how Mr. Veldhuis addressed Miss Belize's children as well. During that hearing, it was court ordered that Miss Belize was going to have to complete family-based safety services, and both Miss Belize and Mr. Veldhuis were court ordered to drug screen.
Okay. Did Miss Belize complete that drug screen?
Yes, she did.
And was that negative?
Yes, it was.
However, did Mr. Veldhuis complete that drug screen?
No, he did not.
Okay. Your Honor, we offer petitioners exhibit number 2, a certified copy of that amended temporary order regarding the Bellis children.
All right, objections? All right, petitioners 2 submitted.
Okay. And Danielle, is it your understanding that that Jean Marie's children are no longer residing in that home with her?
That is correct.
Okay. And that she's participating in a family-based safety services case. Is that correct as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, has that family-based services case also attempted to involve Mr. Veldhuis in services?
Yes, ma'am, they have.
And what has been the result of those attempts?
In any home visits that both myself and the family-based worker have made together, he has left the home or not come out of the room and said he would not work services for them because that case did not involve him.
Okay. And did you explain to them or to Mr. Veldhuis that he needs to be cooperative in Miss Bellis's case?
He would not listen to us and would not speak to us about it.
Now, on September 7th, 2023, did you receive a call from Miss Kimball?
Yes, I did.
And was that regarding Miranda and Mr. Veldhuis being kind of walking around in the middle of the night?
Yes.
Can you please explain what the details were?
That phone call detailed that Miss Belize had kicked Mr. Veldhuis and his daughter Miranda out of the home. They'd found them walking on the road in the middle of the night. They allowed to stay with them for that night, but by the end of the weekend, they'd moved back in with Miss Belize again.
And does that cause you concern as well?
Yes, it does.
Now, what other statements has Mandy made that are outcries of Miranda of possible neglect?
She has called her mother on more than one occasion, telling her that she has no food and that she cannot wake up her father to get food. They've had to bring her food to the home because her father has not been providing her with meals. Per a conversation that I've had with Miranda before the last court hearing, she told me that her mother had to buy her school supplies for her because they could not afford them. There have been multiple times that the family members have told me that they've called, that Miranda has called them crying because she's scared because she cannot get her dad to wake up. And he has stated on multiple occasions to his child that he can do things with his mind, like move water and other things that seem very fanciful.
Now, the department did propose an order to participate to the court. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did David Veldhuis attend that hearing?
No, he did not.
Has he also been uncooperative during both the investigation and Ms. Bellis's FBSS case?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that the department has made reasonable efforts to prevent removal of the child?
Yes, we have.
Do you also believe that there's an immediate danger to the physical health and safety of Miranda when she was with her father at the time of removal?
Yes.
Do you believe that continuation in the home with him was contrary to her welfare?
Yes.
At this time, where is the child placed?
She is placed in the home with her mother, Mandy Kimball.
And was Ms. Kimball cooperative with you during the investigation?
Yes, she was.
And did she drug screen for you and provide negative drug screens as well?
Yes, she did.
Have you been able to visit the child in the home lately?
Yes, I have.
And how is she doing?
She's actually sick right now. Mandy had to take her to the doctor today. She's got strep throat and they had to put her on antibiotics, and she'll be out of school until the middle of the week.
Okay. But other than her being sick, is Ms. Kimball providing food and shelter for the child?
Yes, she is.
Is she providing for her basic necessities?
Yes.
And how does the child appear to be feeling about being home?
She seems to be very happy with her mother. She was very excited the day that we placed her.
Okay. And what city or county is Ms. Kimball's residence in?
It is Amarillo, Texas, and they live in Potter County.
And is Miss Kimball also residing with her father, and is it her stepmother or her mother?
Her stepmother.
So there's a set of grandparents in the home as well. Is that correct?
I believe it might just be her father. I'm not sure if her stepmother actually lives there or not.
No, she doesn't.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Smith.
They're talking about just
Tax witness?
All right, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right, Ms. Kimball, do you have any questions for Ms. Smith?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I just want, my question is why, I just don't understand why the termination part on my part. I want to be completely okay with her being in my home with me. And I just want to make sure everything is okay. And I don't want nothing bad to happen to Miranda because she is very happy with me. So my question is do I talk to Danielle more or do I talk to Gloria with St. Francis?
You will actually talk to St. Francis after the judge determines if the department remains as temporary managing conservator of Miranda. They will be the one to set up your services for you and help you get those working and moving forward. They'll be the ones to come out into the home every month to make sure that Miranda is doing okay.
Okay. Am I a foster to Miranda or am I kinship?
You're technically called kinship in our system, but you're still her parent.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's it.
Okay. A lot of legal jargon, but it doesn't change the fact you're her mother and they've decided that they feel it's safe to place your child with you. That's kind of where we're at. So,
Okay.
okay. All right, then. Ms. Gutierrez, do you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, we do not. We do ask for the court to find reasonable efforts were made by the department to prevent removal, including the attempt to engage Mr. Valduis in Ms. Belles's family-based safety services case, the attempted order to participate, but it was denied, as well as ongoing efforts to address the issues with the father.
Okay. Yeah, I will make all those findings.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Give me just Mr. Ingram, do you have anything to add?
No, sir. Miranda appears to be doing very well with her mom. And so just ask that the department be named temporary managing conservator and she continue to be placed with her mother.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then I will name the department temporary managing conservator, continue Miranda's current placement with Ms. Kimball. I'll order no contact between Miranda and her father until further court order. And I will order that Mr. Valduis both hair strand and UA drug screen by 4 p.m. tomorrow at Care Express in Amarillo. Our next hearing will be a status hearing on November 27th, 2023. Ms. Kimball, if you'll get me that paperwork, I'll look over it. And if you do qualify, I'll give you Ms. Kincaid as your attorney again. Just so you know, the purpose of a status hearing next month on November 27th is the department will have a written service plan of things they want you to do. At that hearing, that's where we discuss that. And if there's anything the court thinks you should not have to do or anything the court thinks you need to do additionally, that kind of thing, that's what the next hearing will be about, as well as just to see how well Miranda's doing. So,
Okay. Perfect.
okay. That
Thank
will
you, Your Honor.
conclude this hearing. You're welcome. This was our last hearing of the day, so we will stand in recess. Everyone have a good week.